All right, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's meeting of the County Commissioners. At this time, we're going to ask Commissioner McCoy to lead us in the invocation, and I'm going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we ask for guidance and direction for this county. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're down to item 4, adoption of the agenda. Everybody's had a chance to look at it. Are there any changes, Mr. County Manager?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. So at this time, can I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting the agenda? It's unanimous. That motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5, public hearings. We don't have any today. Is that correct?
Correct.
Item 6, public information. So at this time, we'll turn it over to for the Town of Wallace and Airport Annual Update. I don't know who's here to.
Gage is supposed to be here, but he's not.
You wanna go to 6.2, see if he shows up, maybe he's running late or something, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Newton. Yeah, let's move on to 6.2. Update of the Pender County Drainage Improvement Plan. Mr. Adams.
Thank you, sir.
You notice I said Mr. Adams?
That's right. Appreciate that. Alrighty. Thank you, sir. Members of the board, I'm just providing an update this afternoon on the drainage improvement program. So I've got a fair amount of slides, but a lot of them are pictures. So hopefully in this case, the pictures will do a good justification of what we've been working on this past year. So just a reminder, what the drainage improvement program is. It's a new approach to resilience in this county. We're trying to be more proactive in maintaining our waterways, removing the natural impediments, and improving drainage so that the next time we have any of these big flood events, heavy rain events, the water flows through, and the impact of those flood events is not as severe on the landowners and homeowners of this county. County investment in this program began in fiscal year 22, so we're still in the first year of that. And we also had grant money through the USDA and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture to fund some of the work that we've been working on this past year. So we were able to use a little bit of that as seed money as well as county investment. So that grant I was just referencing was funded through the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and the USDA. It's referred to as the Ewp Project, which stands for Emergency Watershed Protection Program. It was broken up into 2 rounds in Pender County. We're completed with round 1 and currently executing round 2. Round 1, we were able to clear 32,338 linear feet of waterways from, remove debris. And that included 22 creeks in Hampstead, Rocky Point, and Willard. We were also able to stabilize 3 stream banks that had experienced significant erosion and scour as a result of Hurricane Florence. So they were all in Hampstead. One is on Highway 210 near Hidden Bluff. The other is Factory Road near Majestic Oaks. And then Country Club Road across from the Old Point Golf Course Clubhouse. So a few pictures here. You can see this picture was taken, I think, in January or February of 2019 after Hurricane Florence. You can see there's pretty substantial erosion on the bank here, which is sort of, leading to some bad conditions for that culvert there. Could potentially undermine that culvert and cause that road to collapse if this bank was not stabilized. So this is what it looks like now. We're able to get in there and put some riprap on that bank, stabilize it, and hopefully protect that culvert next time we have a big rain event. This is Factory Road, so you can see the arrows pointing out Factory Road. I'm actually standing in the creek looking up towards Factory Road. You can see there's a pretty good sized sediment accumulation here that's kind of blocking that creek, and it was actually causing the water to rush up on this bank and washing out that bank there. This is what it looks like now. We're able to pull that sediment back, straighten out that creek a little bit, and then armor those banks to protect the next
I'd
time.
like to
we
go back
have-
to the creeks a minute. My son and I fished along at Shelter Creek. We were there last week and still, I mean, it's better than it was, there's still some debris in there.
There's a ton, excuse me, there's a ton of debris in a lot of the creeks. What we're trying to do is put together a maintenance log so that we have an idea of when every creek was last cleaned, and then that'll help us prioritize work going forward. So what we haven't been able to get to yet. And so that's what we're working on now. But you're right, and I've got some pictures here of Shelter Creek that I think illustrates that.
And also, they're gonna do, Burwell Creek, I understand, from 117 over to I-40.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That'd
sir.
be a big deal.
Yeah, hopefully in the next few weeks they'll get started on that. That's our game plan as of right now. And then lastly, so Old Point, if you're standing on the golf cart path looking towards Country Club Road, this culvert is actually angled to sort of shoot water at this bank here, and that was causing some pretty significant erosion. So we were able to put rock on both banks, which again will just minimize erosion in the future.
And that's washed out a couple times, so that's been a big issue, almost at every major storm that we've had. So
I think DOT put in that pipe pretty recently.
They did,
Okay.
they did.
So those are some pictures of the bank stabilization work that we've done, but just to give you an idea of like a before and after of what it looks like when we do the clearing and snagging and debris removal work. This is a tributary to Turkey Creek down in Rocky Point. You can see all those trees leaning over the creek. Inevitably, they're going to fall into the creek and start acting as natural obstructions. This is what it looks like now. Crew came in, cut all those trees out, and even removed some of the trees that were further in the creek that were actually in the water. So getting those removed removes those obstructions, allows the water to drain much quicker, and reduces the impact on those property owners on either side of the creek.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
Daniel,
Yes, ma'am.
using Turkey Creek as an example, what did the contractor do with the logs?
We require them to set it 20 feet off the bank.
So the logs that are leaning and all the trees that were cut, the logs are still there on the property?
In most cases, yes, ma'am. We didn't have the budget to haul them off-site in most cases, so unless, we had a few sites that were on golf courses where there was literally no buffer between the creek and the golf course. So we were able to haul that off-site, but it was minimal debris. But in most cases, we just don't have the budget to haul the debris off-site.
That looks so good. What about the silt and debris that they picked up from the riverbed? Is that also 20 feet off the,
So we didn't have any sediment removal as part of this project here, but there is some in the Northeast Cape Fear River as part of round two. So we'll be hopefully bringing that to the board in, I don't know, next few months. Looking to award a contract hopefully in the next few months for some sediment removal in Northeast Cape Fear.
thank you.
We've actually found that when we remove the debris, if there is sediment accumulation over time, as we have those heavy rain events and the water's rushing through, it'll wash that sediment out. So then just a few more pictures of what some of the creeks look like here in the county. This is Bergall Creek. In that stretch between 40 and 53, there's a short stretch of Bergall Creek. You can see here there's a tree that's fallen across the creek, and it's acting as a dam there, blocking the entirety of the creek. This is Shelter Creek. Commissioner McCoy, I don't know if you've seen something like this. Trees falling across the creek, which has pretty much created a pinch point. Water's only flowing in this little stretch right here. This is probably 30 or 40 feet across. So getting debris like this out, that's what we're talking about when we say debris removal or clearing and snagging.
Is this upstream from Holland's?
Yes, ma'am. This is, a good reference point would be Shelter Creek Lime and Stone. Behind there is in the vicinity of where this picture was
Okay,
taken.
that's a good ways up.
Yes, ma'am. This is that same spot, but actually standing more in the creek and looking downstream. You can see even further downstream, there's more trees down in the creek there. So what are we doing right now? We finished up with round 1 of that project. We're currently in the execution phase of round 2. We're doing clearing and snagging work, Burgall Creek near Stag Park Road, and Burgall Creek between Highway 117 and 53. And we also were able to clean out the northeast Cape Fear near Crooms Bridge Road and Shelter Creek near the Shaw Highway Bridge. Those are the big projects that we're working on right now.
Yeah, Burgall Creek really needs it bad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this is a good picture. This was taken on the northeast Cape Fear. It was a barge-based operation, so there's a barge with an excavator on it. And I just think it's a good illustration of the amount of debris that is removed from the river. A lot of times you don't even see it. You know, you might see a couple of limbs sticking up, but you don't realize what's under the water until it's pulled out and you see it on a barge like that. So it's pretty incredible the amount of debris that's accumulated in our waterways. Another component of this program was beaver management. So the board funded a county-led beaver management program beginning in fiscal year 22. So for the previous 14 years or so, we've been participating in the USDA-sponsored program, BMAP, the Beaver Management Assistance Program.
That guy's doing a good job on it, so he's doing a really good job.
He's doing a phenomenal job. Yes, sir. Here's a chart that sort of shows the results of the bounty program and the beaver management program as far as number of beavers trapped this year. You can see in 2008, that was sort of our high point through BMAP. We had 203 beavers caught, and I believe that was our first year as far as I could tell from the research I did. That was our first year in the BMAP program. And it was sort of a steady decline all the way up to 2021 where we only caught 10 beavers through that BMAP program. To date this year, we've trapped 388, so we feel that we've made some pretty good progress on that. That's calendar year. Yes, no, that's starting trapping
July.
season. Fiscal year, yes sir, yes sir. So we started, trapping season starts in November and then generally ends March 31st, that's where the bulk of that trapping's been done.
So what has happened with the dams that these beavers came from?
We've busted 127 dams thus far. So 388 beavers caught, 127 dams busted.
Of those 100 and some dams that have been busted, has anybody given you feedback as to whether they've been rebuilt yet?
Generally, the way we work is when we're trapping through the bounty program, Emmons, or staff trapper, will do an inspection beforehand and afterwards. And normally that afterwards inspection will take place a week or so after the trapper says they're finished or after they believe they've caught all the beavers. That way it gives them a little bit of time to be sure no more beavers are in the area. But we do rely pretty heavily on the landowners to follow up with us if they are continuing to experience beavers coming back and rebuilding those dams.
Have you had any indication that there's been renewed activity in any of these busted up dams?
I'm sure there will be, but we have not had calls as of yet. You know, I would be willing to bet that at the majority of these sites come, fall of next year, we'll be sending folks back out to those
But
same
that's
spots.
how the trappers trap. They bust the dam open, the
Right.
beaver comes back, they put a trap right there where the repair is gonna occur, and that's how they trap them.
Right.
So the water movement gets the beaver to come to make the repair. So, they just keep using that method
Right.
to actually get the beavers and trap them.
That's right. Yes, sir. So just a map of all the locations that we trapped. There were 58 locations across the county that we trapped. The green dots indicate all the locations where either the staff trapper or the bounty trapper on the bounty program set traps. So we felt like it was a pretty successful year, but we're looking forward to growing this program as more landowners and property owners learn of this program. We hope that we can grow it as time goes by.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the trapper on staff did a tremendous job. I think I previously mentioned, we had an idea, but he was really integral in implementing this program. So I'll pass that along to him as well. So a couple of pictures, again, just to kind of illustrate what we're working with. Exit 408 in Rocky Point. I'm not a photographer by any means, so the lighting here is a little bit rough, but if I can illustrate there's a culvert right here that runs under the on-ramp. So if you're coming from 210 headed towards Wilmington, getting on 40, as you're getting to the end of the on-ramp, onto 40, you would come by this little tributary. The beavers had blocked this up so much so that the shoulder of that on-ramp was underwater and getting close to I-40 itself. We were able to get in there and trap those beavers and then work with DOT on getting this dam removed. And you can see the culvert was opened up tremendously. The water's drained out of there. And it's just a nice reminder when we ride by that spot to continue to see the water at low levels. So this is actually what it looked like inside that culvert before DOT cleared it out. You can see there's mud and sticks and everything piled up there, so obviously that keeps the water from flowing pretty good. And then this is the biggest dam we came across this year. This is on Shelter Creek. It's about 90 feet long and about 5 feet
It's on down.
tall. Yes, sir. So that's almost directly behind Shelter Creek
That's
line.
up near
so
Holland's shelter?
Pretty
Holland
close.
Fish Camp.
Yeah, relatively, yes, sir. So that was pretty substantial right there. Here, just to give you some perspective, this right here is a 4-foot paddle, like a kayak paddle. And you can see the dam's a little bit taller than that. So that's holding back a lot of water right there. And we were able to trap a fair amount of beavers there and not remove that dam, but at least break it enough so that the water's draining.
Hard not to be impressed by them sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt. So the last point that I want to make is we found that blowing dams using explosives is the most effective way to remove them. I didn't get a before picture here, but I took this picture actually standing on 421. And this is Big Branch down in Rocky Point near the county apartments. And you can see the original water line based on the change in sediment color. So the water line was right here, and we blew 5 dams probably within 200 to 300 yards of 421, and the water dropped 3 to 4 feet right there. So it's just, again, another illustration of removing these impediments allows the water to drain, and then that also allows the next time we have a big rain event, our storage capacity in these channels is much greater now. So before water starts rushing up onto these landowners on either side, it can stay in the channel and continue to drain out. So that's all I've got. Again, just a lot of pictures, but if you all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Good report, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good news, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Has the town of Wallace guy gotten here yet?
He just said, emailed back and said that he has, I'm so sorry, I put it on the wrong day on my calendar, how long the presentation has to leave now, it just moved down the agenda, or I can go to the next meeting.
So you're not coming?
It's totally, I don't think you'll have enough time.
No, so just put it on next.
Okay.
Yeah, move on.
Tell them, we understand. We're disappointed, but we understand.
I've done it myself.
All right. I guess we'll move on to item 7, public comment. Do we have anybody signed up?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Then we'll move on to item 8, the consent agenda. Everybody's had a chance to look at these items.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. It passes. Item 9, approvals and resolutions. 9.1, approval, public portal property tax information. Mr. Pound?
Afternoon, Commissioners. This is a exciting little project we get to bring before you. This has been requested mostly by the public. This is a downstream product that lives on the back end of the tax software, and it's going to facilitate it'll facilitate all all citizens, but mostly our real estate attorneys, anybody that's doing anything with property tax in a professional way. So the attorneys, realtors, all those folks. They've been most vocal about wanting a project that allows them to look at the tax office in a live environment and then utilize that information for their closings or for their real estate work. And that's what this does. We have the GIS portal now. but it does not do a third of what this will do, and we've had some sustainability issues with the drop and pickup of the databases. So this actually removes all of those requests, but ties back to GIS, so it'll provide database information for them, it'll provide query information for our public, and it'll also link back to GIS for mapping. So the beautiful part about a lot of this is that it will provide power to the citizen to query and run their own reports, should they even want to question the tax office's values in general. So it's also a level of transparency that we're giving back to the citizens that they deserve. But this all lives on the back end of our current tax software. So this is a tool we're suggesting that gets used for us and for the public.
So how does the public access it?
This will live on a site right on our website. So from the
They'll go
outside,
to the tax office
That's
to
right.
access this, they
Yep.
no longer have to go through GIS.
no, there'll be a GIS, like I said, if they want to do something very GIS intensive, there'll be a portal GIS, but this will look like a page on our on the tax website just for them.
What's the year-over-year cost to maintain this?
$3,000 some odd dollars. 3,400, I think 34 is the annual support and maintenance for it.
Is this on your budget for this year?
The money is set to pull out of this year's budget.
Which years?
This year's current fiscal year.
So not the one, not 2022, 23,
Correct. Correct.
21, 22
Yes, ma'am.
fiscal year.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Justin?
No questions, but, a lot of folks in the insurance industry as well as attorneys, I don't know how many times I'm chairman, I got calls from the attorney's offices or
Yeah.
insurance companies saying, what the heck, we got other counties we can access that information, so they'll enjoy this.
And it'll get used a lot.
Yeah. Realtors.
100%.
realtors, A lot of realtors.
Yep, absolutely. This is a very good public tool.
And it's not, for those, the taxpayers that want to go on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Our power user will be the professional users, but citizens will have access to, querying information if they want to. Again, it opens up the tax database to a lot more user-friendly system.
All right,
I'll be glad to make a motion, Mr. Chair, if he's ready to set one.
we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Pound. All right, no items for discussion. We'll move on to item 11, appointments. Ms. Klein?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Mr. Cecil Morehouse, requesting reappointment or new appointment to Kiwanis Park, Park Board.
Correct.
And it would be for a 3-year term, ending, January 31st, 2025. And his application is attached.
Yeah.
He currently serves as president, correct, of Kiwanis. I'll make a motion.
Does he sit on any other boards?
No, he's had some other civic duties, where he used to live, but no, that's it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. So be sure and welcome him and notify him of his, and thank him for his service. All right, we'll move on to item 17, Pender County Board of Health. Ms. Moser, 17-1.
I will need you to gavel in as our board.
Okay, we'll gavel in as the Board of Health.
Thank you.
We are correct.
I have a lot of items to cover, and I'll try and be as brief as I can. All of this is pretty much related to reaccreditation that'll be coming up. All our documentation has to be in June 1st. And we lost our accreditation coordinator, so we've been very busy trying to catch up here. First of,
Do we have that posted, or
Yes, we have it posted.
have we had any applicants?
Not for the salary. Which is not surprising. So we'll work on it, but it's more than just this piece for an individual. There's other pieces, like with public health preparedness, other activities.
Where do we sit as far as comparability to our competition?
This position starts at about 39, and all the applicants have wanted 60 to 65.
Okay, so some work needs to be done.
So do you have it, not trying to, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Have we compared that to what other counties have been, just for curiosity? And no, we've not had this discussion, but you bring that up, I did not know we didn't have a point.
No, I don't think it's a position that would require that high a salary. I think if we could probably bump it up $3,000 or $4,000, we might.
Yeah, I don't wanna get
Yeah.
outside of what's in line, that's why I asked the previous
No,
question,
um,
what our competition is offering.
Yeah.
What the other counties are offering and paying, and we should be able to find that out.
And
and
health
benchmark that,
educators,
so.
this is typically a health educator position for the most part. In fact, our last accreditation coordinator presented the Board of Health training for you a couple of years ago, I guess. So,
Another suggestion, you could give this one, I mean, if we gotta pay more money to get somebody in this position, they're gonna have to carry more duties, more
Mhm.
responsibilities, and so, you know, you may wanna work with HR to try and figure out how we can build the duties and responsibilities up so they're commensurate with the salary that's being offered, okay? Or
there
being
are a
asked.
lot of responsibilities to it, but I think maybe we could have a discussion and see
Okay.
where we go.
All right,
The first item is, most of this will be requiring the chairman's signature, but some of these items are new for reaccreditation, but we do have 3 letters that need to be signed by the chairman. And I wanted to share it with everyone so that we know what needs to be signed. You look thrilled. One is a letter that we do, I think, every accreditation. It is a letter saying that we have not adopted any local rules, ordinances, or policies in regard to environmental health, that you have opted to stay with all state guidelines.
right.
And so there are no more stricter than what the state requires. The second letter is that we've talked adjudication before. We have had no one that's requested to appeal, whether it's, in this case, it's mostly the cost for any of our fees. So that letter to say that we've had no appeals. This letter is new and has never been requested before. This is a letter stating that our health director has 10 years of experience in Pender County, and that the board does not feel the need to define my knowledge, skills, and abilities for the position. I trust that's the case. So
We
any-
might have to relook at that. No.
That's interesting though, that just now appeared, you know.
Yeah, I know, but
So what's driving that?
I think that there are a lot of counties trying to escape the general statute requiring a master's and experience in public health. So they're trying to do some
Well, that's not
creative.
in the
processes.
best interest of the citizens long-term to lower the bar.
It's not in the best interest of the health directors either to lower the bar.
I agree.
Um,
No, we want qualified people, and
absolutely.
thank God we have qualified people.
So,
So,
I don't know if you as a board want to accept these letters for the chair
Sure, we
to
can do that.
sign.
So, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Moser about these 3 letters that she's asking for us to?
No, that's typical, because during the time that I sat on the State Board of Accreditation for health departments, that's pretty consistent. And that exemption, that we haven't changed any laws, just wanted to make sure that we were being assessed in accordance with everyone else being.
Everybody else good? You good? Okay. Let's go through and through the process and make a motion and second, and that way it's.
Well, I'm making the motion.
So we have 3 motions.
That's okay.
I have
I'll
3
make a
items.
second. I'll
All right,
second
we
one.
got a motion from Mr. McCoy,
Okay.
and we got a second from Mr. Brown.
Okay.
All those in favor of me signing these 3 letters, thank you very much. It passes unanimously. Motion carries. You have your approval.
Thank you.
Okay?
The next item has to do in part with the
We're on
board's,
17-2 for the general public, I believe.
the board's handbook that you should have received electronically. So this is just a portion of it. In that handbook, there are some policies that are really Board of Health related and providing guidance to the health director and health department. And the rulemaking policy has not changed. In fact, all of them have not changed. We just need more current signatures. Under the tobacco-free policy, we did have to add something that said that should we have any kind of event, that we would not purchase tobacco products as freebies, so, and giveaways.
I read that, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
really? You gotta put that on
We have to
writing?
put it in writing, so it's number 4 on that bullet number 4. But that is the only other policy that's really changed. So you have rulemaking, the workforce development, our fee policy, the tobacco-free, our non-discrimination policy, and our diversity policies that are part of that section. Some we could leave with former chairman signing, but there are some that we did require a new signature.
That's fine. So do you need a formal
Please.
approval for this also?
Well, part of reaccreditation does say that we should evaluate whether or not there are any other new policies or any other new rules that you as a board feel are necessary to the health department's activities.
So we don't have enough rules?
Well, we have plenty,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I don't see
And-
anybody wanting to make any new rules.
And I think that the priority here is still once, and it can be reflected in the minutes too, is that, you know, your standard of operation has been that you do not put any more burden on the taxpayer than what the state requirements are.
Absolutely.
And so, I think that if that can be stated that, that has been your tendency, I think we would be fine.
Yeah, I don't think we want to change from that policy, so we will continue to use the minimum, which is to continue to follow the state guidelines unless somebody has a differing opinion than that. Okay,
It's the least restrictive.
yes,
is what-
yeah.
Okay. And then finally, I'm sure many of you did take time to read the handbook. It is there.
I
Do we
just
need to
have,
vote on that one?
I just have one
Mhm.
comment on the handbook, but go
Oh,
ahead.
no,
Do
I
need
guess
to
we
vote
do
on
need a vote.
that- That's the item we just approved, we need to
So-
vote on it then.
Yeah, let's,
Motion to approve.
we got a motion
I'll say.
and a second to approve item 17.2. All those in favor? It's unanimous, so that motion carries. Okay, Ms. Newton.
With regards to the handbook in
Mhm.
review, I noted an error in that I am not the vice chair. Commissioner Williams is the vice chair.
Okay,
So just wanted to bring that here too.
we can make that change.
Good catch.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to know somebody glanced at it. Thank you. There are not a lot of changes in this handbook compared to ones that you have received in the past, except that it is electronic in nature. I do have to mention that there is, even though it's not required to bring the health department's strategic plan for 2022 to 2026, I believe, that is in your notebook. I know that these attachments are available to the public by clicking on the agenda items and looking at the information. But the strategic plan is located in there. It has to be updated. Our old one has to be updated annually. It has to be tied to our community health assessment that we did in 2018. And once again, come July, we'll start the 2022
So is our
assessment.
strategic plan web-based?
The health department's is.
Okay. So there's a link in this document which you can just type into your browser and
Mhm.
it'll take you right there.
I assume it is for tonight, and
I would
I
think
am
Mr. Shipley will be excited over that.
trusting it may be available on the health department's website.
Okay.
Or if
Okay.
not, it
We-
will be,
no,
it'll
we're
be
just-
pretty soon.
We're very excited that we're moving towards electronic, and utilizing IT as much as possible. It helps in many realms because it allows people to get to the latest version of documents, which is very helpful. If you're dealing with an outdated document,
Mhm.
that can be very problematic. And so moving towards, the modern age of using electronics does have some pluses, and I'm glad to see we're moving that way, so.
And then, just really, the board's operating procedures as a Board of Health are included in there for the chair's signature. And, these have not changed in any way. Ongoing training, we have been fortunate not to have turnover in commissioners until the upcoming election, of which there will have to be some new training for new board members. But ongoing training, the main topic that is to be covered, and I think we discuss it every time, is your responsibility as a board member, your roles and responsibilities. And that's in the handbook as well. So that's all I have.
Okay. Do you need anything for this 17?
To accept the Board of Health handbook.
So
And
moved.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor? Again, the vote's unanimous. That motion carries. Anything else for us, Ms. Moser?
Well, only if you want just a really short snapshot of COVID. There's not a lot happening. We're averaging still about 20 cases a week. The majority of the cases are in your 25 to 49-year-olds. it's very hard to see what kind of a positivity rate we have because of the home tests now. They're all out there, so we have no clue if someone tests positive. And last week I was at a conference and was asking about how was the best way to tell, you know, and to track our positivity rate as to how rampant COVID might be in your county. But the state is one of the few in the nation that does wastewater monitoring. And COVID does show up in wastewater. So that right now is the most accurate trend that they can follow to see just exactly how much COVID we have out there.
What's the severity though? I mean, are
It's
there
very
deaths, are deaths occurring at any significant rate?
I don't want you to jinx me, but no, Pender has not had.
Right, and the
many
hospitals
days.
aren't overrun with?
No, not at this time,
Okay.
no.
So while this may be evolving and may becoming more contagious, it's becoming less impactful to the general health of the public, correct?
And I think
Is that correct?
I think that the advantage to that is the fact that we have a lot of antivirals out
Yeah.
there. And so it is, if someone wants an antiviral, they can receive it. There are some pharmacies that you can walk in and if you have a positive test, even the pharmacist can prescribe it and give it to you. So a lot of changes there, but yes, Pender is still in the green according to the CDC.
Very good.
The other thing is about Gen X. And Chemours, you know, is contracted with another company to try and get out and do some water testing. Received an email today that this company has tested 61 wells in 4 counties, and only 2 of those wells have been of concern. And I asked what counties they were located in, but no one's gotten back to me on that. So that's the latest and greatest.
Concern, that's pretty unscientific term too, concern.
Yes.
So hopefully they'll elaborate a little bit more on
It, from what I can tell, there will have to be some remediation of those 2 wells.
Okay.
Have you heard anything about a meningitis outbreak in children? I've been reading some time ago in certain parts of the country. Children, I thought it was maybe coming because the COVID-19 and there were.
I have seen that information. I think the big message to get out is that there is a vaccination for it and that parents should get their children vaccinated. In addition, we're talking avian flu, the bird flu, that has really destroyed a lot of poultry farms in the nation. North Carolina's been fortunate that it's just been contained in a couple of counties, but the CDC has identified 1 individual now that has contracted the avian flu.
So I got a follow-up question on COVID. Is there any data that's being collected relative to side effects of the vaccine?
Data is being collected. It has not been shared yet. But any side effects are to be reported to a national data bank. And when we see the results of that, I don't know.
So what are some of those side effects, or, I mean, do we know?
Well, there's a variety. I mean, you know, from just the basic swollen arm and feeling poorly for about a day. But then there are some that seem to be linked to blood clots, to heart problems, to any kind of chronic disease that I think for the most part has been the result of individuals with maybe some underlying conditions that have
So is the federal government collecting this data? or
Yes,
is-
yes.
Is there any word on when they're gonna start being transparent with that data?
No, this goes to the CDC.
Do we keep asking that question?
This is, no, I mean,
We should be asking that
I
question.
don't know that anyone would be able to give you that information, but we can ask, the
That should be
state.
public information. Something that was required and mandated should be
Mhm.
public information.
Well, this vaccine, system for anyone that's had, some kind of response to it, you know, that has been active regardless of the type of immunization, but there are,
If the
items.
federal government's using taxpayers' dollars
Yes,
to
they are.
collect data on the side effects of COVID vaccines, then that data should be, we should know when they're gonna make that data, available to the general public, and we should have a date for that.
Would you, as
I'll be
chairman,
happy to write a letter.
chairman
for
of the
that.
Board of Health,
I'll
like
be happy to write a letter.
to write a letter?
Yeah.
I think that would be
Why don't
lovely.
you just call up the CDC? I know you've got contacts there. Ms.
Absolutely,
Moser?
absolutely.
No, I mean, seriously, I mean, that
You
should
would
be
think
our,
so.
that should be our next, because we forced a lot of people that, quite frankly, weren't aware and don't know, and, you know, we need to make the public aware.
Yes, there's still some people that even 8, 10, 12 months later are having side effects. In
Yes.
particular, you know, loss of smell and taste.
Yes,
I think I still have some bits of that when it comes to taste. But,
no, there just needs to be that transparency, and there needs to be some accountability, because we forced this on people to some degree, and they need to know and understand, so that next time, if we have to go through this again, they understand that.
and it was a little frustrating last week at the conference that we did have to show our immunization card.
Yeah.
But it's public health. So I think that, the potential for you receiving any kind of response to a letter would be for us to, write it to the state epidemiologist.
Okay, if you'll draft that letter and send it to me, and
Okay,
I'll review it and comment probably, and then
probably.
we'll work towards it,
Okay,
getting it sent off, okay? Thank
Okay.
you for your help with that.
no,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
no, I appreciate that because it shows that I have a board that's concerned in it.
Well, I am concerned. I want us to understand the impact of
Mhm,
what we just went through, and if we don't learn anything from it, then it's of no value to the citizens.
mhm.
So we should learn something from this.
I agree, I agree. I
And if
appreciate
there's
that interest.
trends in terms of these side effects, that, then we need to understand and put that in our database and say, hey, next time we have more information.
Well, right now, these immunizations are still, for the most part, under emergency use
Yeah,
authorizations.
I know they are,
So
I definitely would hesitate on giving a child that vaccine, definitely.
that's coming soon. Availability.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moser. Wes, do we need to open his, Board of Social Services? Okay, thank you. We'll close as the Board of Health and move back into, the Board of Commissioners. I think we're down to the items from the county attorney.
The latest word is we are going to actually receive opioid money in the next 2 months. Ms. Moser, is that what you've heard? I mean, they keep, but this may be one of those free lunch tomorrow signs kind of thing. I mean, we were supposed to have the money already, and we don't. Now,
Now, the federal government's giving it to the state, or it's been awarded to, who's got the money right now?
is in a settlement fund in Ohio, because that's where the litigation was based.
Okay,
Multi-district litigation was consolidated in a federal court in Ohio.
okay.
So, that is, and past budget season, we hopefully will be coming back to the board with some ideas on how we start spending some of the money. I know you got plenty on that, but at this point, I don't think we will realistically and perhaps logistically, we may not want to spend any money before June 30, because if you spend a dime, you have to have an audit, and a separate audit, not as part of our regular audit, and you have to do a result, basically, and this will fall on Ms. Moser and
No,
her
we'll take
staff.
your advisement on that, so we won't
Well,
spend any money.
There's some pretty stringent
Yes, ma'am,
requirements
and
and
that's why,
guidelines implemented for receiving and spending this money, and I'm assuming that there's consequences for not utilizing these funds in accordance with those guidelines.
yes, there would
And-
be, and we have to report it.
We don't wanna have to
We have
return
to,
the
one,
money.
have the separate, the standalone audit, and we have to do a report that includes results, which obviously, if we're not getting the money until June, we're not really gonna be in a position to report on results, but we've still got, it's one of those that you have to do it regardless, I mean, it's,
Yeah, but you can at least report.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're gonna go down there, you could say no results as of this day.
right, or, yeah, early stages, et
No
cetera.
results to report,
Right.
So I have a question.
so,
Will the money be going to the state of North Carolina before it gets dispersed to the counties that are part of the settlement?
Yes, I believe.
that'll be,
Okay, so it does go to the state of North Carolina.
that's why I asked. the-
Okay.
I
So,
believe
we're
that
I
is-
think that
that's-
spending before June's gonna take care of itself.
Yeah, I think it is, because if it's anything like this, buyout program for
Or
the,
FEMA money.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
no, the good news, hopefully, is that it, as of now, it has not been claimed by the General Assembly.
Give them time.
I'm
It's not there yet.
And the settlement specifies that 85% goes to the counties and 15% goes to the state.
For
But I would-
administrative
but
costs.
I would make one, I would clarify one thing there. I don't think the General Assembly is our problem with the money I'm talking about.
Oh, no, I was not, but I'm just saying, there have been past settlements where it kinda like lottery funds, that they go to Raleigh and they never, they get diverted to teapot museums and the like, and they never come back to the counties. So, that was a real thing, by the way.
Say it's not so.
And I'm sure it's a wonderful place to go. Anyway, just trying to keep you updated on that. Hopefully, we will be working towards, once the money actually starts getting here, then we'll start to formulate, as Commissioner Newton says, we've got a list of things that the money can be spent for. And I have items for closed session. Item 3, attorney-client, and item 5, acquisition of real property. Does that cover it, Chad?
Yeah, we got, that's not personnel, we're talking. So what is that gonna be on?
Okay.
Anything else, Trey?
No.
All right, so this is probably a good juncture to cool the rumor mill. We have interviewed first round of addition to our legal department. The rumor mill is and has been that we're making significant change. We're not making that significant a change. Our volume has increased to the point that we need more legal guidance. Okay? Trey's not going anywhere, or at least as far as I know from any discussions. Trey's going to continue to support us as he has in the past as a contract attorney. But we are interviewing a second round. We have narrowed the field, and we will be having some additions to announce hopefully here sometime in the near future. Again, this is because the volume of work is such that we need to increase our legal staff. And we've supported and augmented this in the past. We've contracted out with local attorneys. We've had local attorney working on foreclosures, local attorneys helping us with real estate deals. But the volume of work is more than one person can handle. And so we've made the decision, and this is how we're going to move forward. So if there are any questions or comments, please talk to the county manager. No, I'm just, you can feel free to give me a call or send me an email. So, all right. Chad, do you have anything?
Just a few date reminders. We've already had one budget meeting. Our next budget meeting to work with the departments is going to be on May 9th at 4 p.m. here in Burgaw. The third budget meeting, let me back up. In between the second and third meeting, we're going to have a commissioners meeting, which is two weeks from tonight, May 16th. Then May 19th, we will have our third budget meeting, 4 p.m. here in Burgaw. If necessary, we'll have one May 23rd, 4 p.m. in Burgaw. So all the budget meetings from here on, including the first one, will be here in Burgaw, unless.
Not to mention when we did the, day and a half, whatever it was, we called it a retreat or
Correct.
whatever, or work session, however you wanna call it, we did in Hampstead in what, late February or? March, excuse me, March, yeah. And the manager goes back and makes recommendations, and I've never seen a budget we hadn't tweaked. This board's always, there's never been a rubber stamp budget board, as some folks might like to say, of course, it's primary time, so
They've been saying that a lot.
all kind of stuff, you know, out there.
Well, no, I appreciate the process. I think it's a good process. The department heads work with the county manager, and then at this point, we're basically bringing the slightly adjusted, sometimes significantly adjusted budgets for our review, and then our comments are also considered, and hopefully this will all be wrapped up and we don't arrive at the deadline like we did a couple of years ago, and not be in enough agreement to approve a budget. But I don't believe that'll be the case. We've gotten a good start here. So anything else for us, Chad?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Van?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shipley?
2 items, Mr. Chairman. One, I just wanted to let the board know that today was the deadline for part of grant applications, and they were delivered in person today for both part of applications. Also, I wanted to mention 2 tourism employees that I wanted to point out for an act that took place about 2 weeks ago, where Ms. Stephanie Key and Ms. Olivia Dawson came upon a citizen in distress and assisted with that citizen until EMS was able to come and handle the situation. But I did want to point that out. The 2 employees were helpful. Just wanted to mention.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Williams.
No, sir, nothing to add this time.
Mr. McCoy?
I'm good.
Ms. Newton?
I had touched on this at the budget meeting last week, but I wanted to again recognize and share how great the open house was at Pender Fire and EMS. The facility looks fantastic. Really good job doing the upfit and the facelift. Enjoyed going through the bays and seeing and having someone go through the equipment. and what we own and what they use it for, and it was just a wonderful learning experience for me to see, how they use this equipment hands-on and who's actually running it. So kudos to you. I would like to see more open houses like that. That was pretty impressive. So thank you. That's other than the usual meetings, budget time, and the Wnpo meetings, and wanted to briefly mention that the dedication for the dual water line at Kings Bluff, I think it's going to be, what, the 23rd?
I believe that sounds right.
So, Mr. Keel's not here, but that's going to be a big deal. So, that's all I have.
Commissioner Brown? So Chad, did we get what Mr. Keel needed signed, because I was kinda out of pocket last week?
He said he's out of town for death and family. He said that he was gonna check to see if I could sign it.
Yeah?
He said he had some time, so he was gonna call Raleigh and see.
Well, I can sign it if it's here. I can sign it now, but I signed it one time. So I don't know why I'm having to sign it again.
He was gonna call Raleigh and see how critical
Okay.
it was needed,
All right.
needed to be the chairman.
The chair did his duty by asking the vice chair to do it, which vice chair, being me, said he would be glad to do it. And then, something else decided to control where I couldn't do it, so, the chair did his job.
Can you find that out and let me know? And if we need to get that signed. I thought I'd already signed it. I'm pretty sure I'd already signed it, but.
Commissioner Newton, the parallel line dedication, I have it down May 20th at 10:30
May 20th. Okay.
in Regal Wood.
Yes.
16th Monday, yeah.
Okay, so I had the WMPO meeting for last month, was last Wednesday. It was held at the new airport. I'm not sure if everybody's had the occasion to visit the airport since some of the renovations are now operational. It's very impressive. It's long been needed, and we've been handling a large volume through that airport, larger than its capacity, for a pretty long time. This will help us get close to being able to handle that volume, which is about 1.5 million, I think, is what we're using, what our volume is. But very impressive renovations. They're not only making renovations to the structure, they're adding baggage handling equipment. They're going to be able to improve the operations themselves through the use of some technology. They backed up the area the ticket area, so that now you're not actually standing at the door when you come in. You can actually have some distance between you and the ticket people, and because it becomes very crowded in there. So it's a good sign for us, for this region. They're also having to work on parking, which is another indicator that the airport is doing very well. So very impressed, very, very nice that we were able to conduct that WMPO meeting out there, and glad that I could be a part of that. So, and I think that's all I have at this time. So, do we have a motion to move into, our next meeting is Monday, May 9th at 4 o'clock. It's a budgetary session.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. And I guess, do we have a motion to move
Yeah,
into
I'm-
closed session?
I'm getting ready to make it. Did you say item 3 and 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got 6 on this one. Is there a need for item 6?
That's
6 is
personnel.
personnel. It's gonna be handled under attorney-client.
Okay, so we're just, okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under items 3 and 5.
Do we have a second?
So,
We have a motion and a second. All those favor? We are now in closed session.